My name is Ellen, and I'm an occupational therapist and a certified hand therapist at Select Physical Therapy. My job duties are working with patients who have upper extremity injuries in an outpatient setting. When I work with patients who have hand injuries, they are unable to perform their activities of daily living like they once were able to. So not only am I working on restoring their range of motion, diminishing their pain, helping them regain their strength, but I'm also working on making them as independent as they can be with their activities of daily living. And if that requires them to modify something in their home or get a special piece of equipment, I am trained in helping them do that as well. But mostly what I do is orthopedic, hand, wrist, elbow, and the occasional shoulder injury. And a lot of my patients have had surgery. I do a lot of custom splinting for people who have had hand injuries and they have to protect their surgery or have to try to regain more range of motion after surgery. I make custom hand splints to help either protect their hand or mobilize their hand. When a person is injured, it's very common for them to receive physical therapy, but also they are very likely to have occupational therapy if they have injured themselves in a way that they cannot perform their everyday activities. The best example that I know to describe this is when a person has a stroke and they're in inpatient rehabilitation. The physical therapist is going to be working on things like balance, walking, standing, getting in and out of a chair. Your occupational therapist is going to be working on learning how to dress yourself, learning how to bathe yourself, learning how to get in and out of your car, learning how to get in and out of your bed, how to fix your hair, how to get on and off the toilet and take care of yourself that way. The occupational therapist is specially trained that if a person cannot become independent again, we are trained to make it where they can become the most independent that they possibly can. So sometimes a person may have been living alone. They're not going to be able to do that anymore, but maybe they can get to where they can live with a family member with a certain amount of assistance. Sometimes a person can continue to be independent if their home is modified and it's safe for them. It depends on their diagnosis and what has happened to them. Because you use your hands for so much of what you do, it's more common for an occupational therapist to specialize in hand therapy than a physical therapist. However, a physical therapist can become a hand therapist if they want to. But the occupational therapist is trained much more in our schooling to learn how to make splints, how to work on fine motor coordination with the fingers, and also we are a lot more trained in cognitive things like memory and problem solving, which is very important when you're looking at someone being safe and independent. Can they operate in their environment safely? The requirements to do this job right now are a master's degree in occupational therapy. And to get into the master's programs, you obviously need a bachelor's degree, but I would recommend that you would have a bachelor's in a psychology field or a medical field of some type, biology or something like that. However, I would check with the school that I was going to apply to see what undergraduate degrees they recommend. In time, these programs are going to transition to a doctorate program. Getting a medical undergraduate degree or a psychology undergraduate degree are important because when you get into the therapy program, you're taking a lot of psychology courses and a lot of physiology and a lot of anatomy. And this field, unlike physical therapy, has a huge psychosocial aspect. You can actually do occupational therapy in a psych setting where you're working with people that, due to their psych diagnoses, cannot live independently, cannot perform their activities of daily living, and the occupational therapist is crucial to get these people as independent as they can be and functioning as well as they can. And so psychology courses are extremely helpful because you will have to have a lot of that in the occupational therapy program, and plus the interpersonal skills that you learn by having psychology training are very important no matter what is wrong with your patient, because they're going to need you to be very up close and personal with them and really get to know them and their routine in order to get them back independent. The best part of my job is being able to help people all day and being able to talk to new people, interesting people, different kinds of people all day long while they're getting better, and seeing them get better and learning at the same time from their different injuries and diagnoses. I very much enjoy being with people and working with people. I also very much enjoy things like wounds and fractures and swelling and medical type conditions, and enjoy learning from that and working with that. Not all occupational therapists work in outpatient settings. Some work in inpatient settings, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of people that don't have their clothes on, people that are very, very sick, people that have a lot of machines on them. But it's the same basic principle that you are working with people all day, seeing them get better, being so instrumental in helping them get better. That is always a good feeling. That's definitely the number one reason I think that people get into therapy. The drawback to that is that sometimes it's stressful when patients don't do well or don't cooperate. I think that in an inpatient setting, which is where most of your therapy jobs are, whether you're an occupational therapist or a physical therapist, you're going to have a stress level associated with people who are ill, people who are grumpy, people who are not physically able to do what you want them to do. But if you can just be patient and manage your time, that is not nearly as complicated of a situation as it could be. I wouldn't recommend that anybody get into this field if they don't love working with people. Face-to-face, one-on-one, all day long. It's not a job where you go into an office and stay by yourself. But if you love that, you would definitely love this job. I do advise young people who are getting into this field to make sure that they are comfortable with being up close and personal with people. If you're not comfortable seeing someone without clothes on, you're not comfortable with people being vulnerable and having wounds or having injuries, then maybe it's not for you. If you're squeamish about the human body, this is not the field for you, because you are touching people and interacting with them very up close and personally every day. My biggest advice for someone getting into the field of occupational therapy is to look at the schools that you're interested in attending, look at their curriculum, visit the school, talk to the guidance counselor or the head of the therapy department, and make sure that you are taking classes that are relevant to getting into the master's program, or if it goes doctorate, into the doctorate program. That was a big issue with a lot of my classmates, that they were not prepared ahead of time for what it takes to get into the therapy program. You have to have certain prerequisites behind you. You have to have very good grades in those prerequisites. And then finally, you do have to pass an interview to get into the program so that your teachers can get to know you and make sure that you're really motivated to get into this field. But that's my biggest piece of advice, is to plan ahead. Think about where you want to go to school, look at their curriculum and what the requirements are so that you're not trying to shove them in at the last minute. A lot of schools require that you do observation hours at a clinic. That's not hard to do, but you need to know about it ahead of time, and you need to be able to set that up and get it out of the way.